Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Pro Football Alliance show. I am Dirty from the XFL STL Talk Show. I guess I am flying solo tonight, so we'll see how this all really goes. If anybody would like to join me, you see everything right down there. There's the phone line, 314-270-5725-57. So please feel free to call in. I'm supposed to have Joe from a real USFL page, but there are some different things that have happened over the last few weeks for the USFL. One being the news of the judges. So, for Crew 1, you have Adam Chavone, Ryan Hagan, Quentin Gibbons, Larry Smith, Daniel, I don't even know how to say his last name, so I'm not. You know me. I love messing everything up. Arlington's not here, so he can't say shit to me, my producer. So he can't say anything to me. LaShaw Nelson and Joe Thomas, that is Crew 1. Crew 2, they have a female on Crew 2, Amanda Sawyer, so that's good. At least they got one woman. And I'm going to say this one here was Robin DiLenzo, so I'm going to say she's a woman too. So that's kind of cool, I guess. So yeah. So, and then you had your supplemental picks that had just come in, but hey, I don't know. So look, you guys want to talk about something, please feel free. I will sit here and drink my Dr. Pepper. I have a special treat for later. If you guys decide to, anybody wants to talk. I know Jared reached out and said he was wanting to talk, but but let's go through the supplemental drafts here. So we have the New Jersey Generals picked a DN, Deshaun Ritter, and then a cornerback returner, Christian Tutt, safety and linebacker, Mike Bell, another safety in round 4 of Paris Ford. Round 5, they took a punter, Brock Miller. How do you have a name and you're a punter and your name is Brock Miller? That's kind of a cool ass name, actually, if you're a punter. Brock Miller. Let's see. So that's really it. I mean, shit. Where is everybody? Everybody always wants to punk out on me. Well, Arlington is tied up on some other kind of business, so my producer is not here tonight. So that's a good thing. So I don't know. I don't really know what else to talk about because there's nobody here with me to talk. Unless you guys want to come on and talk to me, feel more than free. If you have it, come on. Let's see. Let's do it. USFL is just a few weeks away. And if you've been watching Fox, you've been seeing a lot of the kickoffs and everything for Fox, putting it out there for the USFL, so it's out there, Hey, listen, I don't know how excited everybody's getting, but it seems that people are getting more and more excited. You're right. Yes, Mike, you're right. Brock Miller is white as shit and almost as white as Chad Smith. I 100% agree with you on that comment. I mean, that is an awful white name. Not going to lie about it. But yeah, his parents, boy. So, yeah. So, hey, 31 days, 22 hours, 21 minutes and 57 seconds to April 16th. The season kicks off when, so it's going to be interesting to see how this is. Like I said, if you guys have been watching, Fox, you've been seeing the commercials for the USFL left and right over and over again. They are really, really starting to get into this and push it because they want people to tune in. The question is, are you going to tune in? Mine is, it's got to be some decent football, because if it's not decent football, then it's going to be shit. And there he is. Thank God the man is saving me. Brock Berlin has a cool name. You're right. Here he is, the man from USFL Forever on YouTube. Frankie, how are you, sir?
All right, my friend, can you hear me?
I can hear you. How are you?
Okay, well, I got some good news for you because I got a bunch of people who want to participate in tonight's show.
Well, then tell him to come on over.
Give me a second as I'm posting the link to our.
Let's make it an interesting show, Frankie. It's just going to be me and you, so let's just make it an interesting show. Because I do want to talk to you about the lawsuit of the USFL. You know,
Yes, and the problem, Dirty, is that people don't know the history of this of the actual new USFL. There's a big history about this that people don't know about. And so, and until we have to cover that, because that way it will make sense to everybody as far as why is this big hoopla happening. So let me take you back in time, okay? And by the way,
now how in time are we going?
It'll be quick, I promise you.
I don't care.
I've got it all lined up for you, okay?
I'm going to sit here as you go back in time. I'm going to drink my nitro cold brew coffee Guinness beer.
Yeah, you have enough caffeine in you, dude. But listen,
all right, let's go back in time.
Back in 2005, a guy named Michael Dwyer, he bought some trademarks for the new USFL. And basically, the story goes he had a drunk driver hit him, and he was in the hospital. And he decided to launch a football league. That's basically it.
Correct.
And for years, he would say he would be launching it. He would be announcing cities and all this other stuff. But nothing ever came of it, even though people were just getting upset. Fast forward to 2012, and all of a sudden, you have a guy named Jamie Quadra, who bought the rights from Michael for the new USFL. Unfortunately, Mr. Quadra, who owned his own tuna company, and he was the CEO, tried to embezzle funds from two local companies to help launch this league. So he went to prison. Okay. He went to prison for 3 years or something like that. So fast forward, then Jamie Quadra took over in 2013. Jamie Quadra took over. I'm sorry, not Jamie Quadra. Jim Bailey took over, who was on the board. And for 9 years, he was the former executive of the Cleveland Browns. And for 9 years, he tried to launch the new USFL. Didn't happen. And finally, after 9 years, it just stayed flat. Nothing was going on. So now you come and you have the Fox people, okay, come in and buy the trademarks and, all the hoopla that they bought. And now they're trying to launch the league. And so here's now the old owners of the USFL trying to sue Fox for basically what they claim is copyright. They're suing for trademark infringement.
So now here, Mike's got a question for you right here, Frankie. He says, related to former Auburn running back Mike Dwyer?
No, Michael Dwyer. Dwyer. Michael has no affiliation with football. Basically, Michael is a former casino manager. He used to work for Larry Flint from Hustler or whatever that magazine was. But he had no experience in doing this, and so it started with him. Now, the reason I mentioned this history because all of our USFL fans, the original fans who grew up with the league, know who I am because I used to call out Michael on his nonsense. And so he and I have a history. This thing's been going on since 2005. Okay. My thing is now that with this lawsuit is very simple. Why is this man? Why are these former owners now suing Fox when originally when the league was trying to be launched numerous times, they didn't bother doing anything. So to me, it's all about money. Follow the money. And at the end
Well,
of
I
the
mean, yeah.
day,
Hmm.
it's all about money. That's all it is. And
Right.
so
Yeah. Exactly.
why didn't you sue when Michael Dwyer tried to launch the league? Why didn't you sue when Quadro tried to launch the league? Why didn't you sue when Jim Bailey, the former executive of the Cleveland Browns, tried to launch the league? Why? And I'll tell you why. Because those people didn't have any money. There was no money involved. But now that Fox with the $1 billion comes along, they just want a quick payday. And that's the bottom
Right.
line.
So now, if you look at it this way, so Fox's argument. So now you tell me, because I'm not very much. I mean, and you run, as you see right there, you run the USFL Forever YouTube channel, which go check it out. I've been watching it. It's some really good stuff on there, and it brought back a lot of memories for me because I remember the league, and it's like the 85, 86 is when I remember the league, right? But
Towards the end.
now you're right. Yeah, the original owners are saying that they're suing. Well, Fox is saying that they left their trademarks defunct after 30 years. So it's basically they're saying, hey, you didn't do anything with these trademarks for 30 years. We came in, we took them all. So now we're going to do it. And I think it's like you said, because now that somebody's got a little bit of money into it, they're going to say, well, hey, I'm going to sue and get a quick buck because that's what everybody wants to do in this world is sue. Now, okay, here's another question from Jared. Do you think Fox Sports should just use the Spring League name and logos to make it easier on themselves? My opinion, and you tell me if I'm wrong, Frankie, I don't think Fox gives a rat's ass. They got the money. They don't care.
At the end of the day, all Fox has to do is say, hey guys, where were you when Michael Dwyer had the trademark? Where were you when Quadra had it? When Jim Bailey was trying? And by the way, all you have to do, Dirty, go to Google, type in Michael Dwyer USFL, type in Jamie Quadra USFL, type in Jim Bailey USFL. There were numerous stories. Michael was traveling around the country doing news stories and news interviews about, hey, I'm looking at Alabama or Birmingham as a possible um, franchise, or you
Correct.
know, and we all knew, even though he claimed all this, it wasn't true. There was nothing there. And I'll give you a little tidbit. Uh, the former vice president of operations of the Michigan Panthers, Michael
Uh-huh.
Keller, who
Uh-huh.
he's on my Facebook page, and we talked throughout the years. And I said, Michael, tell me the truth. What's going on with this Dwyer guy? You know what he told me? He goes, Guy, I was involved in that group and I had to leave because at the end of the day, there was no money. He had Mike Ramsey, the former quarterback of the LA Express, helping him out with some attorney stuff because he's an attorney. He had other people, some known names, but he also claimed to have some people on board. And so this thing's been going on, Dirty, for like 17 years. Okay. This is nothing new. But again, where were these all former owners when all this was happening? It's only because
Right,
Rupert
exactly.
Murdoch, with his billions of dollars, is the reason why that they're going after him. That's the only reason. Money.
Listen, I 100% agree with you on that one. I agree with you. Now, I did pull up something for you. I think you might find this interesting, which I did. We were asking about trademark laws, right? In the
Right.
U.S., a federal trademark can potentially last forever, but it has to be renewed every 10 years. If the mark is still being used between the fifth and sixth year after it's registered, then the trademark can be renewed. So now, Fox is saying you haven't used these things in 30 years. So they came in and they took them up. So the question is, here it's saying that the trademarks can last forever. It's got to be used between the fifth and sixth years after it's registered. Or if you don't register it in 10 years, then it's up for grabs and anybody can take it.
But Fox trademarked all the team names. They
Right.
trademarked the league name. So when Dwyer and the other ones had it, they had to renew certain trademarks. Okay. And so but obviously they were not going to launch the league. It was from 2000, ever since 2006, around there. They've been saying we're going to launch the league, and so when every time someone took over, we all knew there was no funding. So the trademarks were there. Fox came in and swooped them up. So why didn't
Right.
the old owners swoop it up? Why didn't they take it to protect it? Again, they had no intentions of launching the league. They had no intentions to do anything with it. You know, they claimed they were getting checks for trademarks and stuff, or for using certain logos or something like that. But at the end of the day, Dirty, if Fox bought the trademarks, they bought it. Period. By the way,
Right, exactly.
I have someone that wants to call in. Can you give us the phone number real quick?
Phone number's 314-70-2557.
270.
That is,
25.
you see it scrolling right there. 314-270-2557.
And
all right, Kyle's trying to call in.
I invited a lot of people, by the way. I promoted this all throughout the day.
Did you?
Yes.
So here's what I'm gonna do this. I'm actually even gonna put the link up right here. So if anybody wants to join us, all you got to do is click this link too.
Which link? Where is it?
And you'll be able to join us. It's coming up right now. All you got to do is click that link right there, and it will put you on our show with us. So if you click that link right there, you see it, you can do it, and you'll be on. Now, somebody asked, how much does a trademark cost? Ooh, I mean, that's a good question, because
I don't know, because I never looked into it.
Oh, wait, here we go. Somebody's calling. I got the sound down. Caller, you're live. Go ahead. Are they there?
Hello.
Hey, can you hear us? See, now, Frankie, you can hear him, right?
Hello.
Yeah, I can hear him.
We can hear you, caller.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, caller, we can hear you. Caller, are you there? Unmute. See, they're there. I can hear them. Can you hear them,
Hello,
Frankie?
can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yes, I'm talking. Can you hear me?
Yes,
yeah, I don't know
we can
what
hear you.
You're bored. Last week it happened the same way.
Can you hear me?
Ask him if it's Derek Holloway.
Is it Derek Holloway? He says he can't hear
Hello?
me. I know he can, because I can hear him. Let me do this.
Hello.
Yes, can you hear us?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Hello, hello.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on, Dirty.
I
But I know people want to call in to talk about this.
I'm looking at the settings now. Everything is exactly the way we need it. So I don't know why. That's crazy.
Let me see, because there's a lot of people that want, listen, Dirty, there's a lot of people that want to talk about this. This show is going to be awesome tonight. If we can
Let me do this. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to restart this. So I'm going to do it this way. Okay. I'm going to shut my Google Voice down. Okay. Now, there you go. If you see the link, click on the link, because then you can get on that way.
But which link are you talking about? The one
this
the
right
one
here.
Scrolling on the red
nope, this link right here. If you click on that,
can you do me a favor? Let me send. I would like to send that link to Derek Holloway so he can join us.
Here we go, Joe. Watch this, Frankie. Here's what I can do. Watch this. I'm gonna do this. Since we're friends on Facebook.
Oh, by the way, it was Derek Holloway. It was Derek Holloway.
Was it?
Yes, it was Derek Holloway trying to reach you. So send me the link so we can get him on. I would love. He played in all 3 USFL championships games, and so. And by the way, I have not received your link.
Nice. Oh no, hold on. I'm getting it to you. When you got 1,000 things running, it takes a minute. All right, here we go. All right, sent it to you. So send him that link right there.
Are you sure you sent it to Joe Sampson? Oh, here we go.
Yeah,
All right.
I just see.
Hold on. Give me a second. Let me go ahead and talk while I send this to him. Live television, folks.
All right,
or
yeah.
live internet,
So, guys,
whatever you want to call it.
that's right. I reset the phone line, so if anybody wants to try to call back in, they can. Yes, we could hear them. There's Jarrett joining us. Let's see what Jarrett has to say.
You can hear me just fine, right?
Well, no, Jarrett, we can't hear you.
Oh, you can't hear? Okay, all right. Hold on.
No,
I
Jarrett, I can hear you.
Okay, I just had a question. If the USFL, since it's a big name, wouldn't you think if you're going to make this league, you would have prior written approval from the former USFL owners? If I was just thinking, like, shouldn't you get that? Like, if you're going to go that route and have these teams and these logos and all this stuff, you better get it written down, have some written approval, get their word and that sort of thing, get it recorded and do the legality part of it. That's my question.
Well, now, Jared, if you, he left us. So, Frankie, I read it. Trademarks are good, need to be renewed every 10 years, correct?
Yeah.
So if they never renewed the trademarks after year 5 and 6, then that means basically those trademarks are up to grab for anybody who wants to renew them.
But basically, again, Fox bought the trademarks. All right. Mm-hmm. Why did these USFL former owners wait till now, after all these trademarks have been bought and sold? Okay, throughout since 2005, since Dwyer was in his hospital bed after a drunk driver hit him. Thankfully, he's okay. He was okay, obviously, but for the last 17 years, this has been going on. Only reason these owners are doing this is because they want money. Because they didn't care before. Now we have another guy.
Well, let's do this first. Let's do this. We have right here. There he is, Mr. Holloway. How are you? Sorry, sir. We could hear you, but our phone line was all messed up.
Okay. Can you hear me right now?
Yes, sir. Yes, we can. How are you?
I'm doing great. How you guys doing?
Well, fantastic, Mr. Holloway. I appreciate you joining us. This is a treat for me.
Okay, not a problem. I saw you. I saw what you had asked me earlier. I said, let me jump on here and say a few things to you guys.
Now, Frankie, I got a question for you. We have two people in the backstage. We have John Turner. Do we want to put John Turner on with Mr. Holloway, or do we just want to take Mr. Holloway for ourselves? Because John Turner he looks like dog crap. So do we really want to put him there with Mr. Holloway?
If I say no, he's going to be whining and he's not going to be my friend anymore. And he's going to say, because he did invite me to your show.
I got to say this, Mr. Holloway, it's an honor to have you on the show. Thank you for joining us, sir. One of the original players from the USFL. Let me get your take. What do you think of this whole lawsuit BS with the old USFL people or whoever it is trying to go after Fox? What is your take on it?
Well, basically, I feel as though if they didn't get the proper credentials, they didn't go through the proper channels to use the team names and the logos, then they shouldn't be able to use them. I'm not exactly sure how many original USFL owners are still alive that would have filed that lawsuit, but if they filed it, then they must not have had the proper permission to do it. There's never going to be another USFL because the original USFL was designed to compete against the NFL. This USFL is not designed to compete against the NFL. So all the players, that played in the USFL, that switched leagues, that played in the USFL and the NFL, you're not going to see that in this particular situation. So I guess they should have just went ahead and started a new league with new teams and new team colors.
Okay. Now, what a lot of people don't know is don't take this the wrong way, sir. Because, you still look like you're in really good shape and it looks like you could still smack me around. But your team that you won your championship with the Michigan Panthers has Jeff Fisher as their head coach. Now, being from St. Louis, I'm not a Jeff Fisher fan. How do you feel about that one?
I don't know Jeff. I heard he's a player's coach, and Coach Stanley was a player's coach as well. So once again, I don't really know too much about Jeff Fisher, but if they hired him to be the coach, um, I think he's one of the former NFL, obviously one of the former NFL coaches. Then hey,
Yes.
let them do what they do. Now I have been in touch with Bobby. I texted Bobby not too long ago, Bobby Abear, and he was giving me his take on it, and he was like, they have the TV money, so he thinks the league is going to be pretty good. I haven't talked to him since his lawsuit has started though, but he thought the league was going to be pretty good because they have the TV rights to back them.
Okay.
I
Now
do
I'm going to
know.
bring in
I
John.
do know that the lawsuit starts tomorrow. I heard it was March 16th, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes,
That
it is
hearing.
Mhm.
Go ahead.
You are correct. It's March 16th. It's March 16th, Frankie. So, all right, I'm going to bring him in. John, I know you're all excited. Look, John, it's Derek Holloway.
I got a question for him already.
I knew it. I knew it was
Go
coming.
ahead, I'm listening.
Mr.
Mr.
hold on, before
Holloway,
John-
it's a pleasure to
you,
ask
John.
you a question. This is a cool.
I muted him, Mr. Holloway. I'm going to warn you about John. John's an idiot. John's an idiot.
Yes.
John, be nice. Be nice, John. Be nice. Be nice. You going to be nice? Shake your head yes. Okay.
What I was going
All
to
right,
say
go on.
is that the cool thing about the internet is that 25 years ago, in order for me to ask you a question, I would have to go through the white pages of the city you live in, find your number, call you, cold call you, look you up. You know what I mean? We didn't have all these fancy things that we could just video chat with each other and just spitfire questions. So you played for my favorite NFL team, Washington Redskins, 1986. Could you see that work stoppage coming? Because you came over from the USFL, and you and so many other players that made a huge impact, an undescribable impact on the NFL when you guys all came over to the NFL. Could you see that work stoppage coming, and how did that if you did, what was the vibe going through that 1986 season up to the point to where they were like, you know what? That's it. No more football for any of you people until we figure this out. What was that like in that 1986 season?
Well, 1986 season when we all came over, I didn't have no idea. I'm sure probably a lot of the other guys had no idea that really followed the work stoppage that much. Actually, the work stoppage, I believe, was in '87. So we all came over and we actually got a chance to play 1 year in the NFL before the work stoppage in '87. I was actually traded to Tampa Bay right at the end of the '86. No, I'm sorry, right at the end of the '86 training camp. And I think Tampa Bay wanted me to play, wanted me to be a scab or whatever and play, and I decided not to. And then I actually got picked up. Tampa Bay released when I got picked up by the Colts, and I believe the Colts wanted me to play also, but I decided not to play. But once again, getting back to your original question, we had no idea, or I had no idea about the work stoppage and how it was going to be and how it was going to affect us.
Okay.
So I guess the follow-up question here to that is that guys like yourself, and of course a lot of the three Heisman Trophy winners got huge deals. Quarterbacks, Facina, Haybear, they were able to get deals that were way beyond what they were getting in the NFL, and it changed the way that the NFL treated their players financially, insurance-wise, so on and so forth moving forward. Was there ever between the players when you came over, was there ever any animosity from NFL players towards USFL players coming over that you guys, USFL guys, you're not quite on our level, or or was there an embracing of brotherhood? What was that feeling like amongst you guys as just men in the locker room?
I feel as though it was an embracing as men playing pro football. A lot of the guys from the NFL went over to the USFL as well, and they saw that the caliber of talent over there was not much below the caliber of the NFL. So it wasn't really no type of animosity. It was like, hey, we're glad to have you guys here. If you could help us win, you're here. You must be qualified. You must, know what you're doing, and you have the ability to play in the NFL, or you wouldn't be here. So us coming over and all the guys that came over from the USFL, we were embraced.
Quick question.
All right, Frankie,
real
go on.
quick, guys. I do want to let you guys know that Mr. Holloway joined us at the last minute because I told him at the last minute he was coming home from work, and how much I appreciate him because I've had him on my USFL Forever Facebook page, and I communicated through him through Facebook. And so this is the first time we're actually talking live. And so I want to say I appreciate you, Mr. Holloway. I know you came home from a hard day's work to take the time to talk to us about the USFL. I do have a specific question. I know that the USFL only lasted 3 years. What is the biggest memory that you took away from the USFL that you can tell your grandchildren about, that you tell people about, the one memory that stands out that you dream about it even to this day? Can you tell us what that is?
That one memory is scoring the first touchdown in the first ever USFL championship.
I knew you would say that.
Of course, you scored 2 of them.
Yeah, I scored 2, but I scored the first 2. But that first one, it's like, you only get a chance to do that once. It only happens once in a lifetime. And I happened to be the person, that scored that first touchdown. And we actually end up obviously winning the game. And that was probably the one moment out of all 3 years of the USFL that stands out is the biggest memory, scoring that first touchdown.
And I figured that would be it. But let me ask you something too. Because to me, the USFL represented what could be. And, you had the NFL, which was the big monster. And everybody, of course, the $1 billion corporation. Here comes this league out of nowhere, bringing these stars out, creating stars. And you say to yourself, wow, what a moment, that you have this league that just is punching the NFL in the mouth. And because of the USFL, the NFL had to up their game. Did you think the league will fold after 3 years, or did you think it would last because the first championship game there was over 50,000 people in Denver? I mean, the ratings were great. Did you think it was something that was going to last, or was this just a big pop and it was over?
I was hoping it was something that was going to last. It seems like it was. Until obviously we got into court and sued the NFL and won a dollar judgment. So all the way up to that point, it seems like it was going to be around, because after the second year, if you remember, the league did a little bit of realigning. And what they did, they put actually some USFL teams in cities that used to have NFL teams. Like, we merged with Oakland. Oakland didn't have a team at that particular time. And I think Philadelphia had already moved to Baltimore. Baltimore did not have an NFL team at that time.
Correct.
I think Jacksonville didn't have an NFL team at
all.
Memphis did not have an NFL team at all. So they had put some, we had teams in particular cities that obviously eventually the NFL ended up going into. So I thought the league was going to be around longer than 3 years. Unfortunately, it didn't work out that way. So, being very disappointed, but I did have an opportunity once again to play in the NFL. I think I would have still had an opportunity even if the USFL wouldn't have came along, but they did come along, and I'm glad that I had the opportunity to play with AC, Bobby, and all the rest of the guys on the team.
And Dirty, I know you got questions going, but Mr. Holloway, once again, it's an honor having you here. And I appreciate it.
Yeah, no worries. But Frankie, I pulled something up to you for the ratings, right? So their first season, they averaged a 6-point rating.
Correct.
A 6.0 rating is what they averaged for the USFL. Now, before I bring in our next guest, this Bobby Hubert fan, who is a big fan of yours, Mr. Holloway, Mike here wants to say, how did the USFL help you grow as a professional? And how was it playing alongside NFL Hall of Famer Art Monk?
Playing with Art Monk and Gary Clark and the rest of the guys, it was a great experience. The work habits, playing for Joe Gibbs, the discipline you had to have to play for Joe Gibbs in the intricate offense at that particular time. It's a lot of different motions that they were using, a lot of different things that you had to learn. It's not just going out there, I right 26 power. You had all kinds of motions the quarterback had to call, and a lot of different things you had to learn and move and do on the move. They may change the play when you're in motion. So watching Art Monk and playing alongside Art Monk was a great opportunity and a great opportunity to learn from him.
You have John Turner freaking out there in the backstage because you said Joe Gibbs' name. He is just, God.
John's crazy. Dirty. John's crazy.
I know. You're going to make John Turner's head bigger than what it already is. We're going to barely fit into the screen. All right, we're going to bring in Mr. Bobby Hubert fan. He has a helmet on. Sir, unmute your mic. I'm going to unmute his microphone. Oh, there you are. Hello, sir. How are you?
Okay.
Welcome.
Oh,
you even got
Derek
the shades
Holloway.
on, huh?
I can't believe the best wide receiver in the USFL, along with AC. Great to be here talking to you. I had one quick question for you, sir. Comparing the USFL to the NFL, the NFL didn't really the NFL really called a lot more penalties on those wide receivers, and you guys got killed in the USFL on a lot of penalties and just plastered every play, and you didn't get they didn't call penalties on the defense. So did that improve your game in the NFL?
I guess it took it back to the old NFL where you can basically kind of bump and run just about all the way down the field. So yeah, we had to be a little tougher. We had to be a little quicker. We had to learn how to get off the line a little faster. So it definitely improved our game. I didn't know that we were getting bumped as much as we were getting bumped. But once again, it did improve our game once we did get to the NFL because it was like the old NFL when you could bump and run all over the field. Those little touch fouls, they weren't going to call any of those.
And
go again because you've been sitting there for a while. I'll let you ask him again.
Okay. One more quick question. When you got off the line, did they really hit you like within the 5-yard penalty rule, or did they give you some room? I mean, what was the rule on that?
I think it was the 5-yard rule, if I remember. But they bumped a little bit more past 5 yards than I think they were supposed to. So once again, you just had to get back on track, get into your route, and make the best of it.
So people like Jim Kelly and Bobby Hebert threw the ball so much faster. I heard they had to slow it down when they got into the NFL. Does that sound about right?
I don't know about slow it. It depends on the receivers they were throwing to. If they were off the line quickly, then they have to throw it a little bit more quickly. So I don't know about really slowing it down that much. Because a 3-step drop is a 3-step drop. That means that ball needs to come out in 3 steps. That means that's only like a 10-yard route. Or if they're dropping back, on a 5-step drop, that's obviously a longer route. That's 15, 20-yard route we have to run. So, it's all in correlation with each other.
A little more finesse then.
Yeah,
Okay.
but I do have a little something to say about Bobby. little, not a joke, but you ask if I had any stories about Bobby or any other teammates. Well, I do have one about Bobby. We were when we were at practice. We wanted to have a signal for a strong safety blitz, and the name was going to be Snake. S for safety, strong safety blitz. So we would start practicing. So the word was going to be Snake. So we start practicing, and Bobby got up to the line, and he would say Nate. So we're like, no, 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 Bobby. He had that heavy Louisiana accent. So we said, no, Bobby, no, no. The word is not Nate, it's Snake. So we tried it again. So Bobby, the strong safety, came to blitz. Now we were practicing. He's like, Nate, Nate, Bobby, no, Bobby, Bobby. So no, we actually had to end up changing the word because Bobby couldn't say snake. So that was pretty funny. That stuck with me
So
for
what
a
was the
long
word
time. I
changed to?
tease him about it to the day.
That's
But it
funny.
actually has gone away a little bit. I talked to Bobby not too long ago, and have been in touch with AC as well. And I've been in touch with Gary Anderson. I know he didn't play for Michigan, but Gary Anderson, we played together at Arkansas. He played for Tampa Bay. He played for the
Bandits.
Chargers.
Yep.
He also played for the Bandits. So
Yep.
Gary Anderson's a good friend of mine as well. But I just wanted to let you know that little story about Bobby couldn't say snake.
Now we appreciate it, Mr. Holloway. Real quick,
All right, Bob, thank you for joining us, sir. I love that Invaders helmet.
Thank you.
real quick, Mr. Holloway. I had a interesting encounter when Scott Boucher did the reunions for the Houston Gamblers. There was a gambler wide receiver who told me when I asked him, "Hey, how was it going from the USFL to the NFL?" He said the opposite of what you said. He felt there was a lot of prejudice because they treated the USFL players, as good as they were, very differently when they entered into the NFL after the USFL folded. Did you encounter any prejudices as far as you're a USFL guy, you don't know, you're scrub or you're this? Because the wide receiver that I spoke to told me a total different story. Can you share anything that you can remember?
Not that I noticed. I don't know. There might have been an individual thing, or it might have been a different team thing. I'm not sure who you spoke with, but my experience is that they embraced us. Once again, uh, we're all professional football players, and no matter what league you come from, it's just basically like no matter what college you came from. Just because you played in the Big Ten or the SEC or the Big Eight doesn't make a difference. You're all coming together to play pro football. Now you're on one team, and you're on that one team to help that professional team win. So I can't say I can say from my point of view, I didn't see any of that.
All right, Dirty.
I mean,
I have a lot of questions, but go ahead. I know you got a bunch of
All
them.
right. I mean, let's not forget, though, some of the greatest NFL Hall of Famers came out of the USFL. We said Jim Kelly, Steve Young. I mean, these are two of the greatest quarterbacks to ever play the game of football. I mean, started in the USFL. So my question is to you, and this is going to kind of piggyback off of Mike's question right here, sir. Should spring leagues play in cities where NFL teams are in, or should they play in former NFL cities or non-NFL markets?
I guess it depends on what the market can hold. Playing in the spring, um, it was fun playing in the spring, first of all. But playing in the spring where a NFL team is, it all depends on what you're trying to do with the league. Once again, the original USFL was formed to compete against the NFL. If you're using the USFL now as a spring league to actually recruit players to play in the NFL, then that's a totally different story from what the original USFL was designed for. Um, so that's a hard question, but that's basically what I have to say about it.
Okay, here we go. So now we got Kyle Smith from the USFL Project Inc. Hello, sir.
I told you
there?
people will be coming in. I told you.
What's up, guys?
How's it
Hey,
going?
How's it
Kyle.
going?
Man, couldn't be better. But when I saw Frankie and Derek Holloway on the same show, I'm calling in. I met these two guys. Frankie actually alluded to it just a little bit, but I met both of these guys at the Houston Gamblers reunion for the first time. I think it was the 30th, if I remember correctly. And I got to hang out with these guys and talk to them. It was fantastic.
Okay. Well, now that we have three guests, so let me kind of ask each one of you. It's like, you see Frankie's got the Forever USFL YouTube channel. Kyle, you got the USFL Project Inc., which we'll talk about that. And we got the great Derek Holloway, who played in the original USFL. I've already gotten Frankie's take on the lawsuits. I've already gotten Mr. Holloway's take on the lawsuit. So, Kyle, I'm going to ask you, what is your take on the lawsuit that's coming up?
It's going to be a really short answer because, unfortunately, I can't speak about the lawsuit.
See, you know what just happened, Frankie? See, I have this way.
I don't. I have no clue.
I know exactly what just happened to me. And Mr. Smith, that was a great answer. Turner is licking his chops. I have a way. Somehow I'm going to get out the answer of this lawsuit and what he thinks of this lawsuit. You watch before the show is over. I'm going to get it out of you, Mr. Smith.
I can tell you right now, it won't be Turner.
All right, so let's do this. So we got two new leagues coming up, right? Some of the greatest players to play in the Pro Football Hall of Fame came out of the USFL, came out of the Spring League. I think that a certain individual, barring politics, kind of screwed the USFL when he wanted to go head-to-head, kind of with the NFL. How do you guys think of that when a certain individual decided, well, hey, we're going to go up against the NFL? Me, I think that's what did it for him. What do you guys think? We'll go with Frankie first because you're shaking your head.
Look, guys, I do blame that individual, but also you had owners that could have said no. When John Bassett died, that's when I felt the beginning of the end, because only John Bassett stood up to that man and said, you're not going to bully your way into this league. And by the way, just so you know, the only reason this man that we are all talking about ruined this league was mostly to blame is because he wanted to get into the NFL. He prostituted the USFL to get into the NFL. Okay. And gotcha. I'm glad that Pete Rozelle told him to go pack sand and shove it up, where, because when we didn't know that story until many, many, many years later. And so, okay. And by the way, Dirty, if you notice, you talk about the USFL and look what you get, a bunch of people, right?
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Right, all right. You're welcome.
Yeah, listen, I'm not Frankie. I said you are more than welcome to be part of this team. This whole show is all about the USFL tonight. So, Mr. Holloway, how did you feel with Mr. Trump saying we're going up against the NFL? Do you think he was the reason the USFL, like Frankie says? Me, I think it was him that killed it, but Frankie said it was also the greedy owners. What's your take on that?
I think it's a little bit of both. In piggybacking on what he said, yeah, some of the other owners should have stood up and said, hey, this is not right. We're going to keep the league in the spring for at least, because I think the original USFL was supposed to play 5 years in the spring and then reevaluate.
Correct.
They only played 3. So when Trump tried to force this merger or force us, to try to go to the fall, we weren't ready. The USFL wasn't ready for that. And that's one of probably the biggest reasons why, once again, it folded up, because we weren't strong enough. You got the NFL. They've been around for, I don't know, over 175 years, 100 years at that time, or however many years it was around. They're the big dogs in town, and you have to be careful when you try to go up against the big dogs. We didn't have enough to go up against them. If we would have stayed 5 years in the spring, like the original blueprint was, and then maybe not force a merger, but maybe merge some teams. Like I said, the Oakland team, maybe the Memphis team, the Jacksonville team, the Baltimore team into the NFL. It might have worked out a little better, but once the whole league folded, it was over then.
Okay. Mr. Smith, what's your take?
So, first of all, you've got two of the most knowledgeable people about the original USFL on this show. How do I disagree with that? Well, I'm going to go ahead and do it. I honestly think that the unraveling of the USFL started even earlier than what we perceive it to be, because you had a great plan in place. You had a Dixon plan for the USFL in place. And as soon as the owners took control, they started spending like crazy because everyone was trying to win that first USFL championship and make the league viable. And so to me, I think the unraveling of the USFL happened probably even in 1983 because of the lavish spending.
Well, with Herschel Walker, right? With the Oklahoma Oilman, who.
But the thing about it is, everyone wasn't getting paid like Herschel Walker. You know, you had guys that were getting paid a lot of money, but then you had guys that were getting paid, $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 a year. So it's not like the whole league and your top stars were getting paid a lot of money, but there wasn't a whole lot of people on each team that were getting paid that type of money.
It's just like in the, sorry about that. It's just like in the 30 for 30, the Mike Tolan 30 for 30 on ESPN. He has film of J. Walter Duncan saying, I had a couple of beers with these guys, and then I had a couple of more beers with these guys, and then I ended up as an owner in the USFL, and everybody laughed. But I mean, it was kind of that way where they brought all these owners in, and then as soon as they got in, they started spending.
Yeah, and I can tell you right now, considering they started with $600 million, that was the investment back then. I read up on it. It was $600 million. Think about that. In today's world, how much is that? Over $1 billion? 1.2 billion or something like that with inflation?
Yeah.
And so you had lots of money. What I liked about the USFL, guys, is very simple. Guys like Derek Holloway, who I never heard about, because, AC was the big guy, right? Mr. Holloway, would you agree?
Right.
AC
Yeah.
was the main guy? Okay. But then I saw Mr. Holloway. I'm like, wait a minute. There's someone else here. Bobby Hebert. I started noticing players that I wouldn't notice it before. Bobby Hebert was on food stamps when he came to the USFL. Think about that, food stamps. And he comes to the USFL making $400,000 as a quarterback. He was worth it, okay? But the thing that I truly enjoyed about the USFL is that it was real. It was not this fly-by-night league like all the others before it. It was real. It had money. The only problem was, as we were talking, it started with the Duncan guy paying Herschel Walker big money to come out of college, and then it just spiraled from there. It was the out-of-control spending. If I remember correctly, Dixon sold his franchise, New Orleans franchise, because no one was following the blueprint. And I think, like Kyle said, it started way before the Orange Man came around. But that's the way. I mean, that's just my opinion. You guys can discuss that as well.
All right. Let's go.
And to piggyback something that Dirty said earlier, go to the USFL Forever YouTube channel and watch the Michigan Panthers games, whether it's 83, 84, 85. I'm going to tell you right now, and I don't care it doesn't matter to me that Derek Holloway's on the show or not. To borrow a phrase from good old JR, Jim Ross, if you want to see a guy that's quicker than a hiccup, go watch the Derek Holloway highlights, because I mean, in 80, 83, 84, 85, it's hard to keep Derek Holloway on the screen because he is so quick, and I would have never known about Derek Holloway if it weren't for the USFL, just like Frankie said.
Well, thank you very much for that compliment.
Yeah.
You didn't think you were going to get so Derek, you didn't think you were going to get a wrestling compliment, did you?
Not at all.
So here,
I
So here's-
appreciate him, guys.
so like you guys say right here, the spending, right? Herschel Walker, $1.8 million salary in a startup league. Now, here's my opinion from seeing what the Charlie League has done, and the XFL, but due to COVID, the XFL going in a startup league. You guys answer this after I ask this question? Can you
Oh,
really
God.
afford to pay for that kind of money? In
No.
my opinion, not for at least the first couple years. All right, Kyle, you say no. Why? And then we're gonna go around the table.
Okay. I'm going to make this very, very simple. I actually watched the original USFL, and I've watched the reincarnation of the XFL. Vince McMahon himself put in over $1 billion, $8 billion with a B, to try to get
Hold on.
the XFL going.
Stop.
And
Hold on, Kyle. Stop.
okay,
That is an absolute farce. He did not even put in that much money.
oh, he did.
Put in well, I know. I've seen certain things, and it didn't look like
Okay.
he put in that much. That's all I'll say on that one.
Okay,
That's all
then
I'll say. Go on.
we'll agree to disagree. Let's just say that Vince McMahon put in a large sum of money that was in the hundreds of millions.
I'll give you that
And-
one. I'll give you that one.
Okay, and that's what it takes to put up a startup league, and he still did that, and it still didn't work out. So that's what worries me about these new spring leagues coming up, is there is a lot of money that has to come up. You can look at the arena football leagues. Derek, you played arena football. You
Yes,
know
I sure did.
these. Yes, you sure did. And there, you've got to put up a serious amount of money for any league or any team to survive. And I worry about these spring leagues and the financing that they have.
Just for the record, Dirty, don't ever mention Charlie Embersall with Spring League ever again. That guy should be in jail. He's a fraud. Charlie Embersall should be in jail. He should be in jail. He shouldn't even be mentioned with spring leagues. He's a fraud. He's a fake. He is an embarrassment. And and every time they mention his name, it's like AAF was good. It had some good quality football, but they had no money. How do you launch a league with no money? As far as spending money on players, unless you want to put down $1 billion, $2 billion, and have each team have a salary cap where they can spend so much on a high quality player, I'm okay with it if you're willing to put $1 billion, $2 billion down, But in the USFL case, I understood that they were paying for high price players, but I can tell you what I appreciated the most is players like Mr. Holloway and players that you didn't, Bobby Hebert, players that you didn't know about, came out of nowhere, and you're like, wait a minute, who is this guy? I never heard of him, and you watched him week in and week out. Those are the players that I truly appreciated. Yeah, I liked Herschel's talent. Yeah, he was talented, and I appreciated his dedication and loyalty to the USFL. But it was those players that you never heard of that came out of nowhere are the ones that I appreciated the most. Mr. Holloway?
Yeah, like the guy
Well,
right here
some
behind
people in the Southwest Conference know about me now. Let's keep it real.
No, I knew you were one.
Yeah.
Some of the
Hey,
people in the
now-
Southwest
now-
Conference knew a little bit about me.
Yeah, we're talking about a stud at Arkansas that not only played football at a high level, but I think you were a little bit fast on the track team, Derek.
I ran at a couple meets on the track team. Lou let me run a few meets, but I didn't really do too much in track because obviously I was on football scholarship, and getting hurt or pulling a hamstring out there running track was not going to be something I was going to do. So I did run in, I believe, 2 meets out of my whole 4 years there. 1 indoor meet and 1 outdoor meet I got a chance to run in.
Okay, Derek. So let's just put this to bed right now. Let's get me, you, and Frankie together, and let's time ourselves in the 40. Let's just have a race between USFL Project, USFL Project, USFL Forever, and USFL Alumni. Let's just get a football field and let's go run the 40.
All right, when you guys ready? You guys
make
need
sure
to
you have
work
an
out
ambulance
first,
for
because I
me,
stay in
please.
shape.
I know you do. Yeah, that's why I'll be ready in 2028. So whenever in 2028 your schedule opens up, let's go do it.
Okay, 2028. All right.
Yeah. I need an ambulance at the beginning.
All right, so here's a question right here that Mike has for you, Derek. He says, have you ever seen the ESPN documentary Small Potatoes and Who Killed the USFL?
No, I didn't see it. No.
Okay. Anybody else see
That
it?
is actually a surprising answer to me, because I really felt like Derek and probably 98% of the alumni had seen it. Yes, I've watched it, and I'll watch it. I usually watch it about 3, maybe 4 times a year.
I've watched it numerous times too, and it was depressing at the end, because when they showed the Tampa Bay Bandits stadium and it was all empty, and the narrator said a league that fails is one thing, but when they fail without giving a chance, that's another. And to me, the USFL was just not given that chance because too many people rushed everything. And I mean, you had large crowds, for God's sakes, 40, 50,000. You had a great attendance. It wasn't like other leagues where the attendance was 10,000, 5,000. Yes, you had your issues in LA, you had your issues. Even in San Antonio, I saw the crowds. They were not that bad. But to me, what the USFL represented was hope, the hope that you can create something big. And, if they were just patient, it would have lasted. To me, it would have lasted a long time.
Okay.
I agree.
Now, Mr. Smith, here I got something.
I'm still surprised that people really still know about the USFL, follow the USFL. I get at least 2 or 3 times a month. I get letters, people wanting me to sign a football card. I get them from California, New Jersey, Michigan. I get them from all over the country. And it's a big surprise that I was 7 years old when I first watched my first USFL game. Can you sign this card for me, and things like that? So, and actually send it directly to my house. Now you're talking about open up a phone book and going through the white pages. Yeah, there's something a little different when they can find my address and know it's me. That's pretty scary sometimes.
But Mr. Holloway, it's because of social media, and I'll tell you why.
Right.
Kyle will tell you, if he remembers correctly, how USFL Forever started. I was actually posting stuff on someone else's USFL Forever page, and he got political. So I ended up breaking away. And then Kyle was the one telling me for years, hey, Frankie, you should be doing your own page. And I didn't want to do one. Then from there, it morphed into the USFL Forever channel and all these games I was finding. So a lot of it has to do with social media, because I have over almost 6,000 subscribers on my USFL Forever YouTube channel. But the games, the one thing that people say to me when they write to me is, Frankie, I remember when I was a kid watching this game. My father took me to this game. I remember seeing Mr. Holloway. I remember seeing, the Jim Kellys, the Steve Youngs. You bring out memories. That's why the USFL name has resonated all this time. Does anybody think about the WFL? Not really. Does anybody think of the old leagues that came and went in the 60s and 70s? Not really. I mean, the Continental Football League, I believe, lasted, 10 years? Nobody remembers it. But the USFL has that name that people remember. And that's why you're so treasured, because of the fact that the memories you gave me and I appreciate them always. And so I thank you for it.
You're very welcome, man. I'm very proud to be on the show and to talk to you guys and be a part of this show tonight.
So, Derek, I want to jump in here. So I had this is my fanboy moment. I had actually found Derek's address and I wrote him a letter. It was way back when the USFL project was just a hobby for me. And so I wrote Derek a letter and asked him, hey, would you sign this picture? Would you sign this helmet? Would you sign this stuff for me? And Derek was very, very gracious and said, yes, I'll sign anything you want. Don't send me any money. Just, I'll sign anything you want. So I sent that stuff to him and we became friends on Facebook. And we also exchanged emails. So Derek, would you like to tell the Michigan Panthers championship ring story, or would you like me to?
You can go ahead and tell it. I'm not sure which one you're talking about.
So I got up one Saturday morning and jumped on the computer.
Okay. Go ahead. I know which one you're talking about now.
So I do my regular USFL search. This was before you could do Google, email, and all that stuff. So I am searching everywhere for USFL, and I jump on Craigslist, and I'm scrolling through USFL, and I see a beautiful piece of jewelry. It was a 1983 Michigan Panthers USFL championship ring. And I start looking at the pictures, and I was like, oh my God, this is Derek Holloway's ring. And so I immediately email him. I think I emailed you. I emailed him.
You emailed
me. And I said, Derek, if you are selling your championship ring, please let me know. I mean, I don't know if I can afford it, but I would that is something that I would really, really love to have in the USFL project collection. And Derek emails me back and he goes, send me that link. That's all he said. And I didn't know Derek that well. And I was like, oh crap. Am I in trouble? What happened? I don't want a USFL alumni, pissed off at me. So I sent him the link, and he was, again, very gracious like he always is. And he said, thank you. I had an incident at my home, and that ring was gone. And so with that link, he was able to track down the people that ended up with that ring, and he was able to get his USFL championship ring back. And I mean, for me, I ain't gonna lie, Derek, I would love to have that ring in my collection, but I'm so glad that it's back home with you.
I'm so glad too. And I really appreciate you sending me that link. It took probably about another 2 weeks after I got that link to actually get my ring back. What I did, I kind of set the person up. I went to a pawn shop and I told them to answer the ad that they were interested in the ring. So when they actually got there, I wasn't there. I was kind of outside of the building when they got there with the ring, and they told them, this ring has been reported stolen. And did you want to call the police? And this particular person said, no, that's okay. I don't want to call no police or anything. So in a nutshell, that's kind of how I got my ring back. And once again, I don't want to say never, but you sending me that link and seeing it on there got my wheels turning on how I can get my ring back, because once again, that's something that's a once in a lifetime piece of jewelry, and it was stolen out of my house, and I definitely wanted it back, and I prayed about it, and God, God put people in position to help me get it back, and I'm so thankful and grateful for that.
There you go.
I've got a question. If
okay,
unless 30, you have questions.
Well, yeah, I do, because I want to go into
Yeah, go ahead.
what Kyle Smith in the USFL Project Inc. here. Now, as you see over here, John is eating and he's wanting to be put back in, but he's asking a few questions here. I know, right? Be eating while we're doing a show. So now you're doing the USFL Project. Explain to people that aren't with this show what the USFL Project is.
So what we've done with the USFL project is, and I'll tell you, it started 15, 20 years ago. It started as a hobby for me. And the hobby for me was I wanted to get one USFL helmet signed from each team in the league. And as I started getting interest and I started seeing people like really interact with the stuff that I was doing, I wanted to make it more. And then I was lucky enough in the past 10, 15 years to meet a guy named Tom Cadle. And Tom and I, started talking back and forth. We started working. And so what we did is this is the wildest story. So we decided to start a nonprofit during the pandemic to help build a USFL museum. And that's, in a nutshell, that's what we're working on right now, is we're working on building a USFL museum.
Okay. Now, you said you're working on building the USFL museum with everything that's going on now with the trademarks and all of that stuff. How are you going to be able to use any of the trademarks, or are you going to have to figure out a way to get around that with them being in more of a defunct type of thing?
Again, I can't discuss that at this point.
You can't even discuss the museum?
I can discuss the museum. I can't discuss the trademarks.
All right, well, let's talk about so with the museum, let's just say that this goes sideways, right? And it doesn't work out for Fox, okay? Will you be able to use the trademarks then? That's if it goes sideways for Fox.
Well, if ifs and buts were candy and nuts, we'd all have a Merry Christmas. So again, I can't jump into that at this point. I'm sorry. There's so many things I want to say, but Mark Zuckerberg and Fox may be watching, so I'm going to be the good boy, and I'm going to say no comment.
There you go. Listen, I will give you this one. And Frankie can contest to this. And Frankie's kind of seen the reach that I have with the XFL show and kind of this show. You're absolutely right, Mr. Smith. There's no telling who's watching my show right now and to hear what something that might say. Am I right, Frankie?
Yeah. And hey, everything's on. Once it's on the internet, you can't take it back.
Right.
So,
exactly. Okay, so you're trying to work towards the museum, okay? So, like, how much work is going into that museum? Like you said, you helped get Derek's ring back, right? So you're working on building that museum and all of that. I mean, how much work is really going into that, and like, how close are you to completing that museum?
It's a full-time job, but the museum will be years in the process. And what we're doing right now is we've reached out to a lot of alumni and asked them if they have documents, if they have any historical items. And so what we're doing right now is we're collecting. We're hoarding. I mean, I think that's a fair term, but we're hoarding. But what we plan on doing right now is we plan on making an online museum, and then we hope to create a brick and mortar museum to celebrate all of the USFL alumni. I know we focus on the players, and the players were so integral in what happened with the USFL, but we are focusing on all of the alumni. If you were a cheerleader, if you were a ball boy, if you were in the front office, if you were a ticket seller, we are focusing on all of the USFL alumni, because at the end of the day, we want every single person that was involved with the USFL. We want them recognized.
Okay.
And that's
Okay.
always a good thing, guys, because these players, I mean, they played for the love of the game. They really did. A lot of them did. I do have a question, Mr. Holloway, if you can answer it. I'm not trying to get personal. But I just was curious, with AC and Herschel and all these big-time players that came into USFL, obviously you came in with a track record from Arkansas. What was the, if you don't mind discussing your salary that they offered you on your first year? And here's the other question. In the second year, the Michigan Panthers were like this within the team, because so-and-so got a raise, like Boyanovich, I think it was, the kicker. They gave him like
Novo
300,000, whatever it was. Bobo.
Boyovich.
Yeah. Can you tell me, if you can discuss it? Again, I'm not trying to get personal if you don't want to say anything. What was the salary like for you when your first year, and in the second year, what was going on that there was so much infighting? Because that's what I was reading, that everybody was focused on the money. That, hey, this guy got a new contract, I want a new contract. Can you discuss that?
I don't know. Well, as far as my salary, it was once again, like I said, there were top guys that were getting paid top dollar. Everyone else wasn't getting paid top dollar. So I wasn't. When I first signed my contract, I believe I signed a 2-year contract. After the first year, Michigan did come to me, and I renegotiated after the first year. Um, but as far as, once again, I was not. I didn't make a whole lot of money my first year. I didn't really make a whole lot of money my second year. As far as the infighting, I think some guys were getting some offers from NFL teams at that particular time, and Michigan had probably renegotiated some people's contracts, like myself. I don't know who else's they renegotiated at that particular time to keep them around. Um, but as far as the money and the fighting, I didn't really hear about a lot of that, to be honest. That was something that I don't know whether it was true. I guess it was true. The media got a hold of it, and it was, saying this guy was getting more money and that guy was getting more money than that. But I really didn't focus on that.
Well, I just
focused on
think
playing.
giving a kicker, Mr. Holloway, 300,000, I think it was, for Novo. And again, no offense to Novo, but he had a big contract. I'm like, he's just a kicker, and so
Yeah,
I just thought it was too extreme. Also, the player I'm talking about specifically, that was actually negotiating with the Panthers and the Kansas City Chiefs at the same time,
Ken
because
Lacy.
yes, you remember
Yeah,
him well.
yeah,
He went to Kansas City because he said that what Michigan offered him was a joke, and at that time there was so much infighting, because after Novo signed his contract, I forgot who else. I think it was Corker, if I'm not mistaken. He signed the contract, and all of a sudden it was just a whirlwind. I personally think it affected the team going into the playoffs, because too many people were focused on money. Did you feel that way, or did you think it was just
it
business as
probably
usual?
was. I know Lacy got booed a few times. Because they had already either said he was leaving or had already signed a contract with Kansas City while still playing with
Correct.
Michigan. Um, as far as Novo, is that figure accurate that you're quoting? Because
I read it was around 300,000. If I and
okay,
again, I spoke to an executive within the Michigan Panthers organization,
mm,
who was against it. I'm like, but again, nothing against Novo.
right,
I think he was a funny character, but I don't think he's worth 300,000. Whatever they
right,
signed him. I know they gave him a raise. I know they did.
right. I don't know how much of a raise he got. I never. This is the first time I ever heard a number of $300,000. So I'm really not sure what Novo got. But once again, I know I know Ken we played against Tulsa. Ken played at Tulsa, so I know Kenny since college. I haven't known him since college, but played against him once again when he was at Tulsa. And they did boo him a little bit at Michigan after the second season because he was going to jump leagues. So,
I
but
can't
once
blame
again,
him if Kansas City's going to offer more money. To
right.
me, I thought he was a good running back. I do remember a guy. I do remember a guy who separated his shoulder giving a high five. Remember that one? It was on the
Walter
sidelines.
Broughton.
Yeah,
Walter Broughton.
it was
Was that
like
true? Was that do you remember? I don't know. You guys are a little bit older than me, but I played techno ball as a kid in the 80s. And they had a high five that they did in the NFL, the jumping or the Tecmo Bowl, and they did the high five. Was that where it came from? Because I actually watched it and it looked very similar to the Techno Bowl's high five and the USFL high five. Is that where Nintendo got that from? Does anybody know?
I'm not sure. I know the Redskins used to jump up. I think before I got there, Ricky, not Rick. Well, while I was there, also Art Monk, Ricky Sanders, and them, they used to jump up and give a high five. But Walter
okay.
Broughton actually dislocated his shoulder. He was coming to the sideline, and I
Yeah,
think gave someone. He wasn't even jumping up. He just gave him just put his hand up to give him a high five, but he didn't jump and he ended up separating his shoulder. So that was
yeah.
like a
It's
freak
like
accident right
crazy
there.
things that happen in the, I don't
Really
know
a
what it
freak
is with Michigan
accident.
Panthers, but I remember a lot of the crazy stuff happening there.
Yeah,
And
Frankie,
you
you
know
do
what?
realize
The great thing about the USFL is the celebrations. I mean, that is
Yes,
something.
yes.
The NFL was deemed as a no fun league, and the USFL was totally letting those guys be themselves. And
Yep.
I loved the USFL
Remember Kyle the
celebration.
promo? Remember the promo? The USFL where football is still a game?
Mm-hmm.
I love that
well,
promo.
is the NFL still the no fun league? Kind of, sort of.
Kind of,
Yes.
sort
I
of.
mean, all right. So here we're a spring football show, so let's really talk about it. We've talked about, we had the defunct, the man who should be in prison,
Yes.
should be in prison league, folded because of money. We had the XFL fold because of COVID, right? I know, being very close to the XFL, I actually seen some things that, thanks to the St. Louis Battlehawks and the Seattle Dragons, that the XFL was actually going to turn a profit this year and break even of the $100 million that was invested in year one. With that being said, do we feel between the USFL and the XFL, between these two leagues right now, do we feel that the USFL is being rushed and that Redbird Capital and The Rock and them are playing their cards close to their chest with the XFL and pushing it back a year? Well, how do we feel do we feel the USFL is being rushed? Go on,
Real
Frankie,
quick,
you can
guys.
start.
I have to say this. That is the one concern I have about the USFL, that this training camp is not enough and that the quality people might be turned off. But I'm going to tell you what I would love to see. I would love to see the USFL make it through its first year, bring the XFL next year. USFL is in its second season, and then at the end have a USFL XFL championship within a year after that, where people can see both leagues and have a big universal bowl, whatever. But yes, I am concerned that they are rushing it and that the XFL is like the turtle and the USFL is the rabbit sleeping.
Okay. So we'll go to Mr. Smith, Mr. Holloway, because you're a player. So I'm going to ask you last because I want to get the players' take. Mr. Smith, how do you feel? Do you feel the new USFL is being rushed?
Yes, and I feel like any league that has Brian Woods involved in it, I don't think it's going to succeed.
Oh, shit. Okay. Mr. Holloway, as a player, right? We're talking 31 days till the kickoff of the season for the USFL. Do you feel the USFL is being rushed as a player, and what preparations do you take as a player to get ready for a league and to get ready to play?
That's tough because I mean, when the USFL first started, I had played obviously at Arkansas, and then I think training camp was probably around in I think February when we first started
Mhm.
training camp with the original USFL. I'm not exactly sure. You guys may know how many days when we were in training camp before we had our first game. They had the draft and everything. Now, as far as the planning, I I'm not sure how far back the original USFL goes in planning and how far back the second USFL has done in planning. I do know that they have a pretty good TV contract. So as far as them being able to stick around, as long as that TV money is there and big, they probably will be around for a little while. Um, I would like to see a big game as well. You know, like I said, maybe 2 or 3 years later, if both teams are still around, play some type of championship game
I think it will work.
as well. That would be something different.
Yeah, I think it will
Um,
work. I honestly think it will work. But my concern is that you have the the players now in training camp. I believe training camp starts this week, and so you got a month to get it together. And so my concern would be, hey, if the product is not there, the people will be turned off, and then the league after a year, people say, nah, we'll just wait for the XFL. I can
well, how
tell
long
you
did we? How long did the original USFL have for training camp? Does anyone know? Because I really don't remember.
they actually had a while because I'll tell you what, I was actually going to bring up this point. My favorite coach was George Allen. Everybody remembers George Allen. Uh,
Yeah, from
Oh
Chicago
yeah.
Blitz.
he took in training camp for the first 4 or 5, I think for first 3 4 months. Remember, they had no preseason. He took 600 players and tested them out, and I believe he cut. They said he cut like half of them on the first day. I mean, they were out, and he already knew what players that were going to make it and what players would take him will make the team better. So I know they had like a few months, but he had like
Well, but
600
see, but
players.
see, I'm talking. What they did, I think, is they had tryouts. So they had the opportunity to go through 600 people and take the best of those 600 people and bring them to training camp. So that wasn't actually training camp that they were doing. They had tryouts in different cities for the USFL. So the actual training camp was only about a month long because we weren't down in Florida long before we moved back, before we went up to Michigan.
Right,
So
but the
you
fact that
gotta
you
you gotta
you
remember that
yeah,
once again, training camp was only about a month long. It wasn't longer than a month. But
right, but the
those
fact that you
that
had tryouts helped out a lot.
well,
Right.
yeah,
I
they
googled it.
had tryouts for different teams around the country. You know, if you want to come try, you could come try out. You know, and from there they might have picked some people, they might not have picked some people, and then they will invite those particular guys to training camp. So once again, training camp was only about a month, and it's about as long as the training camp's going to be here. Because you can't go through more than a month of training
But I
camp.
don't I don't think there's no tryouts
Well,
with
they
the
didn't
new
have any
US.
tryouts because, well, the reason why I think is because a lot of the guys that they're picking have probably played football before. They played in the XFL. They might have played in Canadian football. They might have been really high up in college. When the USFL came around, they would, they would just they would- if you if you could walk off the streets and play and look halfway decent, you might have got an invitation to go to training camp. So the pool of quality people that the new USFL is getting is more professional than what the original USFL was.
Do you remember when you got drafted? What round you were
I got
drafted in?
Yeah, I was drafted in the 23rd round. I think I was the 288th player taken out of 290 something. I think something like that, if I remember correctly. So I was taken once again really, really late.
And yet you were the you were
Uh,
and yet you were one of the most important pieces to the Michigan Panthers winning.
Yeah, well, yeah, I worked my way in there. Getting my reps in and showing them what I could do every day in practice, every day in training camp. When it comes game time, it's time to show out then. And then when AC came along, I love AC. He's my boy. Had a lot of fun playing with AC. There was no animosity. I, I knew my role. He knew his role. So we had a lot of fun playing together.
Hey, Dirty, you know what, and Kyle and Mr. Holloway as well. But you know what was my biggest frustration with the USFL TV is that they missed some important games. Like there was a Monday night game, Mr. Holloway, between your Panthers and Jim Kelly's Gamblers in the Astrodome. They missed that game. They missed in '85 the Kelly versus Steve Young, that
Steve
big
Young.
battle. They missed some great games, and that I think that's what I was frustrated with the USFL TV contract. That it just didn't make sense. Some of the stuff that they were doing, some of the games they chose. I understand that in some cases, like Flutie's first pro game was important, but you had a West Coast game that they could have done. And I just think that they really missed the ball. The ABC and ESPN really missed the ball.
Yeah, so I don't know who makes the decisions on what games they're going to broadcast. So I don't know. They probably did.
All right, so we have
another
guy. We have another guy in the back here. His name is Chris. So we're going to put Chris in real quick and see what Chris has to say. Chris, you are live on Pro Football Alliance. What's your question? Here we go. Hey, listen, I can't help it if people don't know how to unmute their microphone. Let's do this. Oh, I can't unmute his microphone. So guess what, Chris? Bye-bye. There you go. That's how I look at it. Okay, so we're talking USFL, XFL. You guys have all said that the USFL is rushing it too fast. Me, I'm looking at it this way. Mr. Smith, I know you don't like Brian Woods. I ain't a fan of Brian Woods either. He's a piece of shit. I can say that because it's my show. He's a piece of shit. He's a douchebag. I'm not a fan of him. But I'll say this. You got Fox backing you. I don't think Fox cares. I don't think Fox is going in this.
But wait, Dirty, he's an executive. He's not like the Spring League where he was in charge of it, because the Spring League is getting sued. Fox just put him as an executive. That's it. They can fire him whenever they want.
Oh, yeah, exactly. And that's probably what's going to happen. But here's what I'm saying. I don't think Fox is going in and taking this lightly. I think Fox is very calculated, and they know exactly what they're doing. And I have a feeling that we're all thinking it's being rushed, but we don't know how long Fox has really been looking at this whole USFL thing. I mean, Kyle, you might, because of the USFL project. I mean, I know Vince took 2 years to look at this. I mean, so you guys really think that Fox is just going in nilly-willy on this and just head first?
No, I just think Fox knows. Listen, we have kept, me, Kyle, and the players, Scott Boucher with the reunions, a lot of other people have kept this USFL name alive for the last, I don't know what you might say, Kyle, 20 years? It has been? I don't know how long.
At least.
We have kept this name alive for so long because I knew sooner or later someone was going to do it, really do it. I'm not talking about Michael Dwyer or Jamie Quadra or what's the other guy, Jim Bailey. I'm not talking about those guys. I'm talking about someone legit I knew would come along and launch this league. And that's why the USFL YouTube channel, Forever YouTube channel, I put so much work into it because I wanted to keep the name alive. Number one, I want the players to have their legacy documented, like Mr. Holloway and the others. And I wanted this league's history to be intact because the NFL would never acknowledge the USFL, ever. I don't care what they say. They would never acknowledge the USFL.
I agree with you on that one. Mr. Smith.
I mean, I agree with everything that Frankie just said. I mean, they are not going to acknowledge what the USFL did. They are piggybacking off of the history, and that's to me is that is a sad part.
Okay,
Well,
now
I can tell you this much though. With the what bothers me the most is with these players. Come on, how long did it take Sam Mills? The man died, and years later, finally they put him in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Why did it take so long? There are players that came from the USFL. To me, the NFL, I just think the NFL looked down on, even though they were very good
okay,
players. Okay,
all
and
right,
to me, for Sam Mills to take I don't know how many years, or was it a decade? I can't remember. To get into the Hall of Fame is pure robbery. I'm glad he got in, but the man is dead. He's not alive, and that's the sad
right.
part.
All right. Now, here's a question
But
for all of you guys.
I'm so glad that for his family that
Yes, I am
Sam
too.
Mills was able to get in.
Okay.
I'm with you there.
All right, so here we go. This is from Mike. When you look at the pure talent standpoint, after the original USFL, I think the United Football League in 09 had the best talent for a spring league. So I mean, he's asking this for Derek, but we're going to ask it for everybody, and I'm going to have Derek start it. Derek, we've seen leagues with talent, leagues with money, and leagues that didn't go head-to-head with the NFL. Why do you think spring football, which is a step above NCAA football, keeps being a failed odyssey? And now, as the player standpoint, let's get the player standpoint first.
Well, probably because of the money. You know, you have to have a lot of money to run a football league, and 100 million, 200 million, 600 million dollars is not going to get it. You definitely have to have a lot of money, and you definitely have to have a solid TV contract in order to make any type of spring league successful.
Okay. Kyle.
I echo what Derek said. I mean, you have to have the financial backing to be able to put a league out there.
Okay. Frankie.
My take is simple, guys. They got to be patient, and every league has not been patient. Now, I believe it was Pelosi's husband who owned the UFL with two other guys, right?
I
Pelosi's
think
husband.
so.
Okay. He admitted that they were drinking, they were spending champagne money with beer money. They were not paying their bills. They were not paying their some of the players. They were not paying I believe it was the former coach of the Minnesota Vikings who sued him. I forgot his name. But they were not paying their bills. So even though the UFL might have had some decent quality players, when you're not paying the bills, it doesn't matter. And so for me, it's very simple. If they just be patient, it will come through. But too many people who pour money into it, and I hear this a lot, investors will go in and say, here's $10 million, here's $50 million, here's this, here's that, here's millions of, and they expect a profit overnight, like it was the stock market or Bitcoin.
Mm-hmm.
That's the problem. It's not the spring leagues failing, it's the people who put the money in who fail at the end because they're not patient. And that's the problem.
Right.
And that's what happened with the USFL. They weren't patient, they were rushing, and if I remember correctly, they went from 12 to what? 18 teams the second year, Mr. Holloway? 18 teams?
It was 12, I think, yeah, 12 to 18.
That's too
I
much.
think.
That's even Jim Morris said it was too much. Yes, they needed the capital to keep the league going because they were already in debt, but still, going to 18 teams is way too much. And so why? All of a sudden, it's like, we need more money. We need more money. And they're just not patient. If they just would have taken the time, many players say it too. Many players say it. If they took the time, it would have worked. But they weren't patient.
Yeah, a lot of teams
Now-
changing cities. I think it was the Boston Breakers, then the Portland Breakers, then the New Orleans Breakers. So they changed cities 3 times in 3 years. You know, and once again, we folded up Michigan and went to Oakland, So once again, there was a lot of shuffling and stuff going around after that second year.
Yeah, it was just too much. I thought it was too. As a matter of fact, in the second year, when I saw all those teams, I'm like, this is no, this is it's way. And then the third year, they cut it back down to 14 teams because they killed the Chicago franchise, and I forgot what other franchises. The Michigan Panthers, of course, merged with Oakland, and so the Oklahoma Outlaws merged with Arizona, and I forgot what the other team was that left the league. But I hate it when the
Washington.
Washington, yes, went to Orlando. I hate it when Michigan merged with Oakland. I hated it because I love that Michigan helmet. Even though I'm a Generals fan, I love the Michigan helmet. When they merged, it was like, what the heck happened? I thought that was just. I know why they did it, because they were moving to the fall in '86, and the owner of Michigan didn't want to compete with the Lions, which personally I would. The way I saw the Lions play, I was like, it was not a big deal.
Right.
Yeah, I
Now,
hated it too. Getting that news that we were going to be going to California, I wasn't too pleased at all. I don't think really anyone on the Michigan team was too pleased to having to go to California and play. But that's what they decided. We didn't have no choice in the matter. But once again, I'm glad I do have my Michigan Panther helmet. I do have my Oakland Invader helmet. Um, so I was able to obtain. Well, I had my Oakland Invader helmet after the '85 season. After that last game, I just kept that. But it took me a little bit to get my Michigan Panther helmet. But I finally have it now. So I do have some great memorabilia, from the league. I do have I think my original shoulder pads from the USFL. I do have my original both my championship jerseys in '83 and '85. I do have both of those jerseys, so I do have some great memorabilia from the USFL. And when you get that museum together, I'm willing to donate some things to put in the museum, Kyle.
uh-oh.
Oh, I love that. Thank you, Derek.
Did you hear the
You
Kyle?
just
You
made
heard
it.
that
You
first.
just made his day.
You just made it sick. Now, let's get to the point where you guys were talking about with the money and all of that stuff, right? Now, here's I think the XFL would still be around today if it wasn't for the pandemic.
Correct.
Okay, we'd be going into season 3 with the XFL. Okay, I remember when the first thing had happened and we brought them into they brought them into St. Louis. I saw the writing on the wall. I saw the money that it was generating, and I mean, like I said, I seen certain things where they were going to break even for that first year of 2020. The XFL. The XFL didn't fold because of money situation, because Vince was patient. Vince wasn't an idiot. I mean, Vince took a little bitty company up there in the Northeast and turned it into a worldwide global phenomenon called the WWE. Vince ain't an idiot for nothing, right? So I agree with you.
But the thing is, Dirty, the difference between XFL 1.0 and XFL 2.0 is that Vince stayed out of it in the second go around. He let the football
Exactly.
minds handle the football operations. Where in the first
Right.
one, he was just a total idiot doing all these little gimmicks. And it was like, it's about the game, dummy. It's not about the gimmicks. It's not wrestling. That's the difference.
Right. I agree with you on that one. That's why it succeeded the second time around. And then here come COVID, right? What my problem with the USFL is, this new version is you're in Birmingham. Don't get me wrong, Birmingham's a football city. Okay, it's in Alabama. It's a football state, right?
Mm-hmm.
But how are you really? I mean, you're getting a $150 million TV deal from Fox, right? Is that really going to be able to help you? You're in that one city. Or is it really going to help them just being in that one city? Or do you think they should have put them in their home cities? We'll go
Well, from
with.
what I understand, they're only supposed to be in Birmingham, I guess 1 year, maybe 2 years. I think I've heard after after the first season, some of the teams are supposed to go to their home cities. If obviously if everything's ready, they have a stadium contract and whatnot is going on in that particular city. So playing in one city, all the games for the first year, um, I don't know. I don't know whether is Birmingham going to be able to support that for that whole year. I don't know.
I just
Okay.
think, guys, the bubble scenario makes sense for the first year because look what happened with the XFL. They should have been able to finish the season, but they couldn't because of the pandemic. People don't understand. We're still in the pandemic. It's not officially over. But at
No.
the same time, it does make sense in a bubble format. I do know for the second season, should the first one, make it through, the second season they're looking for at least half of the teams to have individual ownership, as well as half of the teams playing in their own cities. They have at least that much planned. Now,
Okay.
of course, they would like all 8 teams to do it, but at least half will be in their own cities and half will have individual owners. The way I see it is Fox is smart because they're selling the digital part, the digital marketing part to that's where they're going to be making their money. And the fact that as long as it brings interest and people are willing to go and see these players, I don't see a problem other than if it gets to the point where okay, we made it through the first year, but we're still going to be in the bubble the second year. That's not going to work. Not with the XFL coming in. That's not going to work.
Gotcha.
They have to move
All
it
right.
into their own cities.
Kyle, the man who wants to shut the new USFL down. I'm just joking. What do you think of the hub city?
I think that Fox is betting on gambling more than anything, and if the gamblers come out and they bet on the USFL, then maybe that league has a chance, but I just don't see it. This is nothing more than a revamped spring league. And the spring league had their TV contract and all that stuff, and nobody watched. Very few people watched, and I just don't see it.
Yeah, but Kyle, football without fans. I mean, they were doing this thing, the spring league during the pandemic, and I watched it. It was good quality football, decent, but I can't watch a football game without fans. I have to hear the fans booing, yelling, screaming. And that's why with the spring league, even though I watched it, without the fans, it was just a little bit boring. But I know Mike Tackett, I'm seeing some comment he put in that Birmingham isn't sexy. When was the last time? Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh,
Dennis.
Mike, this says Birmingham isn't sexy. When was the last time you heard someone say, "Sweetie, I can't wait to take you and the kid to Birmingham for vacation"? Love the bubble format, but Birmingham, Florida, Texas, Arizona, all that makes more sense. What just happened? Oh, I lost my camera.
That's good because you're not that good looking. So
I know, right? I'm not that good looking. I don't know how I just lost my camera. I just didn't realize we've been going for almost 2 hours now.
And we didn't even cover the surface.
We didn't even touch the surface of any of this stuff, did we?
No. But Mr. Holloway, I appreciate you staying this long after coming home from a hard day's work. I do appreciate it. Again, guys, this was at the last second. I told them about it, and I invited other people as well. But the USFL is a broad topic. It just you can't even bring it down to like let's do just this. No, because it morphs into other things. We didn't talk about that much about the Orange Man, only a little bit. We didn't talk about Mr. Bassett. We didn't talk about a lot of other, for example, players like Steve Young and Jim Kelly. That greatest game, the game that I had to put together that took me 3.5 months working day and night to put it together. And by the way, the voice that you hear is mine. I got a story to tell you about that one. I was actually putting that game together. Now, Mr. Holloway, I don't know if you remember, but that game was a coach's film, which has no audio. So I had to add not only the audio, the crowd sound, but I had to add graphics. And at the same time, I actually had someone that was supposed to do the play-by-play. And quick story, he came over the night he's supposed to help me do this, and we were supposed to do it together. He's supposed to be the play-by-play guy, and the person that recommended him to me said, "Oh yeah, he does beauty pageants, but he's done sports before." So I said, "Okay, why not? Entertainment and sports."
How about we do this? Mr. Holloway, thank you so much for joining us. I really do appreciate it. It was an honor talking to you, sir. Just like right here what Jared says, honor the past of the USFL. Let's hope that the Panthers actually reach out to you and say, hey, Mr. Holloway, we want you at the first game. I mean, well, here, I'll ask the question. Has the Panthers reached out to you yet to have you at the first game there in Birmingham?
No, I have not heard anything from the Michigan Panthers. I actually reached out to Bobby to ask him if he had heard anything from them. He has not, as of I guess a couple of weeks ago, he has not heard anything from them as well. And that's something that I would like to see if the league does go forward. Is that some of the guys obviously that played on some of these teams that they get an opportunity to be involved in the organization somewhere. Or be invited to different things. If you're going to use our team names and our team colors, have some original people that made those team names and them team colors popular.
Frankie,
I know you guys don't know this, but I actually worked in the XFL the first year of the league. I worked in football operations. I was brought up in there by Mike Keller, who was the he was
VP for
the
Michigan.
president of football operations at that particular time. So
sir,
I actually worked in the league office alongside of Vince. He would always come to the meetings and everything. So I had a kind of inside track on the original on the original XFL because I did work up there in Connecticut.
There you go. Now, Frankie, you know what's going to happen, right? I'm going to say it right now, and you know what's going to happen because my fans are nuts, right?
Mm-hmm.
Hashtag Holloway first game Panthers. It's going to start.
And
I love it.
And we need to honor these players because too many have passed away. Chuck Pitcock from the Bandits, one of the Hawkins brothers, passed away recently. There's a lot of players that passed away, and we need
There's
to
been a
take
few on
advantage.
my team too. Tyrone McGriff has passed away. I think Bobby Futrell. There's probably about 2 or 3 more players I don't know off the top of my head, but have passed away as well.
Is John Corker still alive?
John Corker's still alive.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah, I've talked to John Corker recently.
So here's what we're going to do. Here's what we're going to do, Frankie, Mr. Holloway, Mr. Smith. We're going to do a part 2 of this. It gets closer.
Get ready for 2 more hours.
I don't know about 2 more hours, but I do kind of want to go into more of some of the other stuff, with the Steve Young, Jim Kelly, stuff like that. Talk more about the USFL project with Kyle Smith here. And right now, listen, all you bums that are watching this show right now, hashtag Holloway first game Panthers. That's what you need to start doing right now. So we're hashtagging. Mr. Holloway, do you have Twitter?
No, unfortunately, I don't. I just have Facebook.
That's okay. The Frankie and Kyle will get the stuff to you, but we're doing it. Hashtag Holloway first game Panthers. That's the new hashtag. We're going to get that started. This guy needs to be at the first game. Listen, if they're going to bring 45 back, you got to at least bring back some former players, and Derek Holloway's the perfect guy they got to bring back, right?
Agreed.
Because he's on the show. All right, I am Dirty. Sitting across from, right next to me is Frankie from the USFL Forever YouTube channel. Go subscribe, like. Frankie, tell some people what they got on there.
USFL Forever YouTube channel has the majority of the TV games. It has the 83, 84, 85 season, has all 3 USFL championship games, all the playoff games, except for one that I'm missing, which is the New Jersey Generals versus Baltimore playoff game. And for the record, the USFL Forever YouTube channel with all its games was the original one. There's a lot of copycats out there that downloaded my stuff and put it on their channel. They didn't do the work, I did. And then there's the
Okay.
USFL Forever Facebook page, which has different content and a lot of other stuff that the YouTube channel doesn't.
You guys just let me know the next time and the next date. I'll be there.
Listen, hold on, Kyle. Mike, yes, I would too. I will. You will have a more formatted interview, I promise, with other alumni. This was, I mean, it was just going to be me and Frankie. Frankie surprised me with all of this stuff. So that's what happened. So yeah, don't worry.
This was at the last minute.
This was a last minute thing. We didn't know what was going to happen, but I'll get you a more formatted interview. Don't worry. That's why there's going to be a part 2. Kyle, tell people where they can find you.
Man, come to the USFL projects, search groups, and go to the USFL project. We talk about all things about the original and only USFL, and just come and relive those memories. Relive the guys like Derek Holloway. We want you there.
Mr. Holloway, where can people find you?
Oh, you can't find me. I'll find you.
Type in his name on Facebook, you'll see him.
Right, there you go. And let me bring him in so John Turner can give his cheap little plug to the football world.
Oh my God.
Never mind a football world. Nobody cares. I got one more question for Mr. Holloway.
Hurry up.
Where you been all this time?
I've been in the background, just hanging out, listening. Yeah, I'm a good listener sometimes. Mr. Holloway, as far as the locker room is concerned and how the teams treated you as players, you've played in several leagues. Did the USFL then size up with the NFL as far as, having a locker room set up, practice facility, things of that nature, so you can prepare week in and week out for the daily grind as a professional football player? Or, was it better than the NFL, worse than? How did it match up? And was that part appealing, not just the money, but was that part appealing to players is why they chose the USFL to play for as players?
Didn't Jim Beam already ask that question?
I don't know. I don't listen to every single
for the,
thing. I'm asking my own question, Kyle. Thank you.
As far as training camp was really different. I've never obviously been to a pro football training camp, and it was a lot different than the first one I went to with the Redskins. It was wild. Some people didn't have uniforms. There was a lot of in and out. People there one day going the next day. So that first training camp with the Michigan Panthers down in Daytona was really, really wild. As far as once we got back to Michigan, we had actually great facilities because we used actually the Lions facilities because we played in the Silverdome. So we had access to basically all of their weight room. We had access to the obviously to the Silverdome, the practice fields outside the Silverdome. So our facilities were really good up in Michigan. I can't speak for some of the other teams' facilities on how they were, but again, up in Michigan, Alfred Tomlin and Coach Stanley, they made sure that we had the best of things up there.
Here's another question for you as a player. At the beginning of the league's surges, the first year, 1983, there were a couple of teams that at the last minute almost, the city said, sorry, we're not going to be allowed to let you use this stadium or this facility because basically the NFL told us to not let you do so. So either you're going to have to pick another city or pick another stadium or something. But we're not going to do that. What was the chatter between you guys, the players, and maybe, the team staff as far as teams having to scramble to get something else done at the last minute because you were there in year one.
Right. Once again, we were blessed, I guess, to be in Michigan, to have the type of facilities and the type of owner that we had. I didn't really get into the politics or know the politics of the USFL as far as the teams that had to scramble around and what they had to do. But I'm sure it was not a nice feeling to have to go through that. So I can only speak for basically Michigan and what we went through. We never missed a paycheck. We didn't have any problems getting paid. Once again, we had the facilities we used with the Lions. So I can only speak for the Michigan Panthers. I have really no idea what was going on through the rest of the league.
Okay, last silly question. Did you guys get to practice indoors? Because you obviously played indoors. Did you get to practice indoors, or did you have to practice out in the cold and then go indoors on game day?
Well, it depends on the weather. If the weather was bad outdoors, we practiced indoors. If the weather was good outdoors, we practiced outdoors. So we had use of the indoor in the Silverdome. We practiced sometimes, and we also practiced outside of the Silverdome.
Because I lived in Corktown, Detroit, and I can tell you it snows up until the month of May in Detroit.
Right. It snowed our first game in 1984. It snowed up there. We played Chicago our first game of the season. So I think we had practiced indoors that whole particular week. So we had use of the Silverdome and to be able to practice indoors.
Very
Hey, Dirty, we got to make a rule. John has to ask all these questions at the beginning, not the
Yeah, I
beginning.
know. That's what I'm saying. I'm hungry, John. I gotta go eat. I ain't been stuffing my face like you have all show, bastard.
I'm sick. I'm dying over here,
right.
man. So I got to eat some soup.
All right. I am Dirty. Right in the middle
Yeah.
of Stephen Turner from a football world. That is Frankie from USFL Forever YouTube channel. Go like his page and subscribe. Right there is right below him is Kyle Smith from the USFL Project Inc. Go to his page, like and subscribe. And right there was basically the man of the hour. Thank you again, Mr. Holloway, for on such short notice coming on the show and talking 2 hours and 4 minutes with us. We really do appreciate it, sir.
No problem, man. Thank you guys for inviting me once again. It's a blessing to know people that still love the USFL, to still know about the USFL. And once again, thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Thank
And
you,
there you
sir.
go. And with that being said, we will see you guys next week.